Hey students, welcome to another Mr. Ness screencast. Today's aim is the epidemiological transition, and here are your objectives. Please pause the video, look these questions over, and get ready to copy some vocab and take some notes. Today we are going to be looking at some different types of diseases and how the prevalence of those different types changes as a country develops. Let's start by looking at some different ways of classifying disease. The first type of disease is called infectious disease. Infectious diseases are ones that are spread through the transmission of small microorganisms called germs. As you learned earlier, many infectious diseases can easily be killed with soap or with boiling water. And that was the major breakthrough that doctors made in the early 1800s with germ theory, also called modern medicine. Two of the most common infectious diseases are pneumonia and malaria. Both of these diseases kill millions of people every year, many of them children. A very different type of disease is called chronic disease, also known as degenerative disease. Chronic diseases affect old people and are caused by the human body breaking down as it ages. Chronic diseases are not spread through germs. They are not infectious. Some common chronic diseases are heart disease and Alzheimer's. Remember, chronic diseases are not infectious. They are diseases that affect the elderly. A third type of disease is called genetic or inherited disease. These diseases are caused by abnormalities in people's DNA, and they get passed on from generation to generation. They are inherited. They are not spread by germs, nor are they diseases that only affect the elderly. So these are different from infectious and chronic diseases. They are also less common. Two examples of genetic diseases are sickle cell anemia and hemophilia. Now we're going to look at two types of infectious disease. The first type is called vectored. Vector diseases are a subset of infectious diseases in which germs are spread by an intermediary organism. Malaria and yellow fever are two examples of vectored infectious diseases because they are spread by mosquitoes. The mosquitoes suck the blood of a host, an infected person, and then when they bite a second person, that second person becomes infected as well. So vector diseases are infectious diseases that rely on some third party or intermediary in order to spread. Non-vector diseases are infectious diseases that are spread through direct contact between a host and a victim. They do not require an intermediary like a mosquito. Most infectious diseases are non-vectored. Some examples include the flu, in which germs are passed through the air from host to victim, or HIV/AIDS, which is passed through bodily fluids like blood or semen. To sum up, there are three different types of diseases: infectious, chronic, and genetic. And within infectious diseases, we have two subtypes, vectored and non-vectored, depending on whether the infection spreads through an intermediary or directly from person to person. Now let's look at some terms that we use to describe the scale of disease. Remember, scale means the scope or extent of something. Endemic means that a disease is constantly present in a region. For example, the common cold is endemic to New York. It is always around, especially in the wintertime. Diseases like malaria, meanwhile, are endemic to tropical areas. Epidemic means that a disease spreads rapidly in a region. There is currently an AIDS epidemic in sub-Saharan Africa because HIV/AIDS has spread rapidly in that region over the past 30 years. Finally, pandemic means that a disease has spread over the entire globe. A good example is COVID-19, which is now present in every single country on Earth, and that's why we refer to it as the COVID-19 pandemic. The last term today is the epidemiological transition. Try saying that word to yourself. Epidemiological. Epidemiological. Epidemiology is the study of disease. And similar to the demographic transition model, the epidemiological transition model also predicts changes in a country as it develops. But unlike the demographic transition model, which looks at many different demographic changes, the epidemiological transition model focuses on just two statistics: the crude death rate and the main cause of death. It predicts that as countries develop, the most common type of disease in a country will change. So, in a stage 2 country, for example, this model predicts that the leading cause of death is from infectious diseases. But in stage 5, it predicts that the leading cause of death will be chronic disease. You're going to look more at this model in class. All right, now it's time to review the objectives. If you don't know the answer to any of them, just rewind the video and look again. And I will see you in class. Bye, students.